We're on Kuf Chaf Aleph Amid Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Iboilu. Eretz Yisrael l'shvatim iflik oidim l'kafir gabri iflik. There's always a question of mine which I was very confused about. Which I really could have looked at a map and answered it. But was Eretz Yisrael divided by the different shvatim, meaning each shevet got whatever they were going to get, and then it was divided amongst them, depending on how many people they had, that then it was divided up. Each person got an equal share from their shevet's chelik, but each shevet got the original chalukah was by shvatim. Was it a head count? Did each person in Klal Yisrael, the 600,000 Yidden, either of whether it was whether it was done to the Yates of Mitzrayim or the Boy Aretz, excuse me, did they each get an equal portion? Right, we all know that there's different shvatim in Eretz Yisrael, that they have their land. Was that the first division? First you divide it up, give each shevet his chelik, and then whatever each shevet has gets divided up equally, and there's a gyral to decide who gets what within that shevet. Or was it just done man by man? Every person gets an amount, a 600,000th of the entire land of Eretz Yisrael, and then they would the shvatim were put together based on who the people in the shevet, their pieces were joining each other. So Toshma, Bein Rav Lamayit. The Torah says Apiga Hagoyrol Techalik Nachlase Bein Rav Lama. Everyone should be, the land was divided up with a gyro, with a lottery, and whether it was small or large, whether the gyro, whether the amount that each person got was a large amount or a small amount, it was still divided by the lottery. So you see that not every person had the same size property, because it said whether it was small or large, it was divided by the gyro. So you see that it must have been done by shvatim. First, each shevet got its chelik, and then the people in that shevet divided equally amongst themselves. But since some shvatim were bigger and some shvatim were smaller, the bigger shvatim, the people in their shevet, got a smaller amount, and that's what it means. The Torah means bein Rav Lama. So this is a raya that Eretz Yisrael is divided by shvatim. Oh, I heard my granddaughter was trying to come into my office, and my son-in-law just pulled her away, and she's crying. And I figured, everyone else is allowed to carry their kids on their lap. I figured I could do the same thing. They took her away. So that's one right. V'oitanya. I see that Eretz Yisrael shetischolik l'shloisha asa shvatim. Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided into 13 shvatim, as we're going to see later on in the Gemara. There was that in the times of Mashiach, Lasid Lavai, the Nasi is going to get a separate chelik. That's going to be the 13th chelik. It's going to be like Washington, D.C., that there's a separate district. So the Nasi is going to get a 13th chelik of Eretz Yisrael. At the time of Yeshua, the original chalukah was 12 shvatim, meaning Ephraim and Menashe divided up Yosef's chelik. They each got a separate chelik, and Levi didn't get a chelik, so that's how you come to 12. Another nafkamina, another din of the chalukah, the chalukah of Yeshua was only done with kesef. What does that mean? Shenemer bein Rav Lamat. So the Rashbam explains that someone who had a nicer chelek, who got a better piece of land, would pay off the person who got a worse piece of land. Meaning he had to contribute. It sounds very unwieldy to me. I'm not sure exactly how it worked. But I guess he put into a pot. The Havamina at this point is that he put into a pot of money because he got prime land, so he had to pay it off by putting in some cash to the person who got a shvach, I think. Shenemar ben Rav Lamat Amar, and now we're saying a different pshat when ben Rav Lamat is Amar Yehuda Sabi Yehuda Shava Chamish Soim Begala. A Yehuda was richer land, so a saw, something that was the size of a saw in Yehuda, was worth 5 saw in Galil. Which is very interesting because if you look at the current geography in Eretz Yisrael, Yehuda is much more desert-like, and Galil is the richest area of Eretz Yisrael, the most arable, I guess, but it's also mountainous, and maybe it's back then a rocky and area with rocks and trees, even if it's very fertile, is not necessarily so sought after. The Gemara continues, "V'lo nischalka ela b'geirel." It was only divided by geirel. Shenema ach b'geirel. V'lo nischalka ela b'urim v'tumim. In addition to what we say that it was only that the chiluk of Yeshua was only done with a girl, it also says it was done b'urim v'tumim. Shenema apia girl. Haketza. How could it be that you have both, that the land of Eretz Yisrael was divided to the Boya Aretz, both by a Goyrel and by the Urim V'Tumim? So that's exactly what they did. Elazar Maluvish Urim V'Tumim. Elazar was wearing the ephod with the Urim V'Tumim. Yeshua, B'chol Yisrael, Oimdim Lefanav. Yeshua and the Holy Yidden was standing in front of him. It was a very transparent procedure. The Kalvi Shel Shvatim, the Kalvi Shel Tchum Menachem Lefanav. There was a box filled with the different shvatim, and a box filled with the different areas of Eretz Yisrael. They had 12 names of 12 shvatim and 12 different plots of land in Eretz Yisrael. The Kalvi shel shvatim, the Kalvi shel tchum menachem. Sorry, v'hayim machav meruach hakodesh, and Elazar, wearing the Urim V'Tumim, would make a proclamation using Ruach HaKodesh from the Urim V'Tumim, V'omer, Zvulun Oila Tchum Akai. Zvulun Oila, Tchum Akai Oila. He would say Zvulun is going to come next, and the Tchum, the area near Akai, is going to be next. Oila Ima is going to come together with him. Tarif B'Kalv, and then they would pick out a Shel Shvatim. They would pick out from the names of the Shvatim, the box with the names of the Shvatim. And as Elazar had said with the Urim V'Tumim, that's what would happen. He would reach into the two boxes, and that would confirm with the Gairel what had the Urim V'Tumim had proclaimed, what Elazar had said with the Urim V'Tumim. And he would say Naphtali is coming next, and then the area of Genusar was come next. And Taraf B'Kalvi Shel Shvat, and V'al B'Yadei Naphtali, Taraf B'Kalvi Shel Tchum, V'al B'Yadei Tchum Genusar. Chen Chol Shevet V'Shevet. And that was the procedure, how you had both a Gairel and the Urim V'Tumim. So in any case, you see that it was a tum, that the chalukah was done by shvatim. It wasn't by individuals. There's a very exact description of what the procedure was, and it didn't say that you made a chalukah of every 600,000 people, but you made a chalukah of the shvatim, and then it was divided up amongst the shevet. The Gemara continues. This chalukah of Yeshua is not the same as the chalukah that's going to happen lasid lavai. A person who has a field of tvua, of grain, doesn't get a sada with trees. Sada pardes and a son lovin. And if he gets a orchard, he doesn't get a grain field. Everyone's going to get a variety of different types of land in his chelik. Shenemar, Bahar, he's going to get in the mountain and Bishvela and on the slopes, Ube'emek, and in the valley. Shenemar, Sha'ar Ruven Echad, Sha'ar Yuda Echad, Sha'ar Levi Echad. The pasuk is really talking about each shevet has a separate gate that goes into Yerushalayim. This is coming to tell you, but we darshan it to say that everyone gets a chelik of each, that every chelik is going to have the same thing as the other chelik had, that there's not going to be any portion that's missing anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mechalek l'hem ba'atz, I'm sorry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mechalek l'hem ba'atzma. In Lasid Lavai, the Rebbe Shalom is going to divide everything up himself. Shenema ve'ela machalkotzam no Hashem. But now to get back to our original question, I'm sorry. What we had mentioned before, the question, the beginning, the chaluk of Yeshua was only to Shnayim Asar Shvatim, to 12 Shvatim, Shema Mino Shvatim Ifli. So you see that it was divided up into Shvatim. Shema Minos. This is Taka, an appropriate answer for original question of how the chaluk of Eretz Yisrael was done. Omar, I see the Eretz Yisrael is chaluk l'shloisha shvatim. La'asid Lavai, Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided into 13 instead of 12 shvatim. Idach Laman, who's getting that last chelik? Amar Chizda l'nasi. That goes to Nasi, D'chsev, va'oived ha'ir yavdu, mikol shifta Yisrael. The oived ha'ir, the person who works for the city, meaning what we could like with the lashon we use, a public servant. The Nasi was a public servant. He was the one who worked for everyone. The Avdu Mikol Shifta Yisrael. Everyone, all the Shifta Yisrael were meshubah to him. And that means that they all gave from their chalakim to make a chelik for the Nasi. Or they will. Maybe it means just like a draft, that everyone has to come and work for the Nasi, that every shevet has to send people to help him. How do we know it means that they give him karka? So and the pasuk says that what was left over would go to the Nasi, l'trumas hakodesh, to provide for the needs of the kodesh, l'chutza sayir, and to provide the actual karka, to give for Yerushalayim. It would give for we say it means for the har, for the what do you call it? For the har and the Beis HaMikdash. But we say in addition, this is in addition to what they're giving him. So it doesn't sound like it's talking about giving labor. It's talking about giving land. So Hanaisa, the extra on top of this, on top of the chelik, the 13th chelik that goes to the Nasi, he also got the Trumas HaKodesh. We said that the chiluk was done with ksafim. They had to make up, like we said before, those who got a shvacha portion, was the makeup was done with kesef. Shnema ben rav lama. Like we said, whether someone got less or bigger, that was the compensation for that was done with kesef. Lamai. What are we talking about, better or worse? If we're talking about literally higher quality versus lesser quality land, nobody's going to want, it's never going to be worthwhile for anyone to accept getting paid to have his family portion be worse. Means this is a permanent chalukah. This would be with your family for thousands of years. Till the new chalukah, I guess, by Lasid Lavai. But until then, what someone gets, it goes back by Yovel. There are a couple exceptions, but generally it stays in your family. So how could there ever be money that can make up for getting a worse piece of land? So the compensation that was paid for with money was for how close or how far it was from Yerushalayim. It was better to be close to Yerushalayim. It was more secure, and it was also a shorter distance to be Eila Regel, so that was more desirable, but that is something that a person could take money for. And this is a katanoi, and this is a machlekes tanoim. This is not so clear that it's paid for by kesef mamish. Rabbi Eliezer says it was paid for by kesef. Yeshua aimer b'karka halua. Rabbi Yeshua says no. Even that, the compensation was not that someone would pay for how close or how far it was for Yerushalayim. We didn't pay cash, but rather someone who was closer to Yerushalayim would get a smaller chelik, and the people who were further away got a larger chelik. And the chalukah was done with the goyrel. Shenema ach goyrel. That's the quote from the Mishnah. Tana, we learned in the Mishnah. Ach begoyrel yatsu Yeshua v'kalev. This excludes Yeshua and Kalev, that they were not part of the goyrel. Lamai. Ilayman did lo shakal klal. If it's to say that they didn't get a chelik at all, they were excluded from the goyrel, they didn't get any land. Hashad lav to do shakal to do mibaya, like we said before. Yeshua and Kalev received the portions of the meraglim. So if they got extra portions, can you say that they didn't get their own portions? Seems unreasonable. Ella shlinatlu b'goyrel ella pi Hashem. What it means is that there was no goyrel for their portions. They were given directly their portions by the commandment of Hashem. Yeshua d'chsev al pi Hashem nasnu lo yasa'ir asher shal. Yeshua got al pi Hashem, the ear that he had requested, as Timna Sarach b'Har Ephraim. He asked for this town of Timna Sarach and Har Ephraim. Ksiv Sarach or Ksiv Cheres. The Gemara notes that this Timna Sarach is written two different ways. Sometimes it's written as Sarach and sometimes it's written as Cheres. Amar Laza b'tchila periseh kecheres. At the beginning, the Paris, prior to being given to Yeshua, it was very not productive. It had Paris that were as hard as ceramic. By the end, it was Serach that it became Masricha, means that it gets spoiled, but it means that it gets very juicy, it gets very ripe. So at the end, it was so ripe that it even get to the point where they would be overripe, which was a big improvement over the previous, what it was before Yeshua took it. The other pshat is in the beginning they would get overripe and they would be ruined. But when Yeshua took it, it became hard like cheres. It was very, it stayed for a long time because it was not overly overripe. But in any case, it was certainly better when it was in Yeshua's property. They gave to Kalev Chevron, as Moshe had said, and he conquered it, and he drove away from there the three children of the giants. How could you say that Chevron went to Kalev? It was a Ir Miklat, which belonged to the Levium, and it was used as a Ir Miklat. It didn't belong to a specific person. It means this area surrounding the suburbs of Chevron. Meaning the stay the fields around the city and the courtyards around the city, but not the city itself. That was Taka and Yirmeh. Zok the Mishnah. A son and a daughter are similar benachal. Ella shaben noitel pishnayim benichseyav. But there's a distinction. A son gets a bechayra. He gets, if he's a bechar, he gets double from the nichseyav. But he doesn't get double. There's no din of bechayra from a Yerush that he gets from his mother. A daughter, meaning it's not talking about the bas that's Yerush, but if a son yarshins from his father, he has to set aside some of that Yerusha to provide for his sisters, for his father's daughters, until they become Gedalim or until they get married. But that's not true from Nichseim. We don't take from the Nichseim, is from the pot of the Ksuba, includes a set-aside portion to provide for Mizainis. It's also for the mother. Now we're talking about for the daughter. Now, this Mishnah is very hard to read because first we said, well, and the Gemara is going to say this is what this Amud is going to say, but I'm just going to clarify now. We see in the Mishnah. First, we said we compared the son and the daughter as far as nachla, that they yarshin together. That means the person who's getting the inheritance. And then we say dinim about the difference between inheriting from a father and a mother. So there's a switch going on in the Mishnah, which the Gemara will explain. The Gemara is going to do it in a deliberate way. First thing we said, "My echad ben ve'echad abas lanachla." What is the first statement of the Mishnah? That a son and a daughter are similar, are the same legabi Yerusha. If you're coming to say that they yarshin the same as each other, that's not true. It's not ben kaidno bas. A son goes before a daughter. And not only that, even if the son is dead, his inheritors, those, if he has descendants, those descendants will go before their aunt, before the daughter. So the first statement of the Mishnah must mean something else. It's coming to tell you that they both have the din that they can take from a potential Yerusha. That means if the mace has a right to something, they get from that roy the same as they get from something that actually belonged to the person who for the mace. They got the chelik from their father, from Tzlafchad, who came out of Mitzrayim. And they also got his chelik from Chever. Now, and the way the Rashbam explains it is, we have no reason to believe that we don't know that whether Chefer died before Tzlafchad or Tzlafchad died before Chefer. And even so, we're saying that these daughters are going to get the Yerusha from Tzlafchad that he was entitled to from his father. So you see that they get from Roy the same as Muchsa. Va'oid, my Ella. And also the big question is, how does this connect with the second part of the Mishnah? The second part of the Mishnah then proceeds to tell us the distinctions between the Yerusha of a father as opposed to the Yerusha of a mother, whether it comes from a father or a mother, right? It says, we say that a son, we don't talk about a daughter at all in the second part. We talk about a son, he gets double, he gets b'chayr from a father, not from the mother. And the din of mezainis comes only from the nichsei av and not nichsei. It's nothing to do with the bas. I mean, it is money going to bas, but it's not a Yerusha of the bas. This is a din ksuba. It's not telling you a din Yerusha. El amra pap hachikam. Echara ben ve'echara bas noitn chelik b'b'chayr. That they both have the din to get, they both get a chelik from as a b'char. That means if their father was a b'char, they will get the double portion. We had this din in our Mishnah. That the B'nai Slavchad we said they got 3 chalakim because they got double from their father Slavchad, who inherited from his father. So you see that a granddaughter can get the B'char chelik from her father if he died. And again, we still don't have an explanation. This doesn't explain what this has to do with the second part of the Mishnah. Elamar Bashi Hachikama. Echad ben habanim. Echad bas ben habanis. Whether you're talking about a son who has other who has other brothers, or a daughter, someone who didn't have sons, he only had daughters. Im Amar Yirish Kol Nichsei. If the father said, I want my Yerusha to go one of these sons or one of these daughters, Dvar Kayam. This works. So this is a din of Yerusha. Usually you can't dictate that a father can't say, I want my father to yarshin me rather than my son, or I want my brother to yarshin me instead of my father. It has to go in the rules of Yerusha. But if you have people that are equivalent in the Yerusha, the father does have the ability to say, I want this specific one of my sons, if they are sons, or if they are only daughters, he could say, I want this daughter to yarshin ahead of her siblings. So tomorrow, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka. This is the din of Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka. So tomorrow, Tanil come on. We have this in the Mishnah later. Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka Aimer, Im Amar al Misha royally yarshay. If he says about someone who is in the chain, who's roy to yarshin, dvarv kayavim, then it works. Al Misha ain't a royally yarshay, but if he has sons and he says, I want my daughter to yarshin, that doesn't work because she's not roy to yarshin. She's not one of the yarshim. Ain't dvarv kayam. So what does our Mishnah to say it? We have a Mishnah later on that says the exact same thing. If you say that our Mishnah is a stam Mishnah like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka, stam v'akach malaikas, even stam v'akach malaikas ain't halacha. Stam. Then halacha would not be like that. So what would be? So what would be the point of saying it as a stam if we're not passing like it anyway? El Amr Ma'bar Ravashi Hachikam. I'm sorry, V'oid Mayela. That's again the same question that we had in the previous three pshatim. Is again, this doesn't connect to the first part of the mission. El Amr Ma'bar Ravashi Hachikam. Echad Abein v'Echad Abbas Shavin b'nichsei Eim or b'nichsei Av. Both a son and a daughter are the same legabi, that they can both yarshin from both a father and a mother. Ella. Now we're explaining the Mishnah. But the Mishnah was saying it was not saying that they're the same for everything. We're saying that they have the same dinim legabi yarshining from their father and mother, which is not said in the Mishnah, but that's the implication. But the difference is, but even though we're saying that the mother and the father's Yerusha are the same legabi, that it goes to both a son and a daughter, but the nichsei ha'av are distinct from nichsei ha'em, that there's no din of bechor on a nichsei ha'av, which is only relevant to a son. And even though we don't mention the second part, is that you're also going to have.
Why is it only relevant to the son? We said by B'nai Slavka they did yarshin the Pharaoh.
I guess you're right. I guess it means that just that the son is the one who gets it first. A daughter only gets when it comes through a son. She doesn't get a direct bechira herself. So it's always really a ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I think we'll stop over here. We'll continue.
All right.
Next
Thank you. What time tomorrow?
6:30 in shul.
All right.
Back
Wonderful.
to normal.
Wonderful. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good day.
Take care. Have a good day.